Hello. Yeah, thank you for watching this. This is going to be a comparison between Blood and the Clock Tower and Werewolf. It's all going to be my opinion. So if I get any facts wrong in the comparison, feel free to correct me. But if you think my opinion's wrong, tough, because it's my opinion. And that's it, yeah. Um, the reason why I'm doing this is because the last couple of Werewolf games I recorded, something's messed up in the recording, and so I haven't had anything to put out, and I wanted something to do, and I've been thinking about in my head about articulating how I feel about Werewolf and Blood and the Clock Tower for a while, and just wanted something to sort of like it all out. It seemed like a good place any. I don't really care if anyone watches this or not. This is just more for me to say my views. If you do want to watch it, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine as well. Yeah, so if you find it interesting, that's a double bonus. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, mainly because I mean, as you can tell, I like hearing the sound of my own voice as well. So, just a bit of background on the two. Um, I've been, I've played. This is mainly going to be a comparison between the two. I'm playing them on Zoom. I have played Blood and the Clock Tower once and Werewolf, I think 3 times in real life, but I'm going to ignore those. This is more about comparing how they play on Zoom and how I feel about them on Zoom. Or, you know, if people use something else that someone more techie than me would know, like Discord or whatever, then yeah, it's probably the same as that. But anyway, yeah, so on my ratings for both games are on Board Game Geek BGG. For Werewolf is a 9. Sometimes I have a bad game of Werewolf and I might think about dropping it to an 8, but generally it's a 9. And Blood and Clock Tower, it's an 8. I think more often I think about dropping it to a 7, but it's an 8. So I do like both games. I probably love both games. Is 8 enough for love? I don't know. But I prefer Werewolf. So those of you who think Blood and Clock Tower is better, you know, prepare to be baited, I guess. Even though I like them both, I think to be honest, I do rag on Blood and Clock Tower a bit, even though, as I say, it's an 8, and I think about it a lot when I'm playing about how to play it better and things like that. But I think I prefer Werewolf. So yeah, that's that. So I've been playing these games, both of them on Zoom, and it kind of arose from the Tom Vassell running his Werewolf games on the Dice Tower, and then I started playing in those and started doing my own Werewolf games on the Dice Tower, and then people started playing Blood and the Clock Tower as well, and then I started joining those, and I started also storytelling those. I've in total for Werewolf, I've probably played about 100 games of Werewolf. Sorry, I've probably played about 60 odd games of Werewolf on Zoom and probably moderated about 40-ish, something like that. And on Blood and the Clock Tower, I've played about 40 and story told about 4. Well, definitely 4. So I've played them both quite a lot, but I played Werewolf probably twice as much. So there we go. What I enjoy about the games, now this is one of the key things for me, this is what I enjoy about the games, and they are two very, very different things about what I enjoy. When I'm playing Werewolf, the thing I like most about playing Werewolf is trying to survive as long as possible. It doesn't matter what team I'm on, whether I'm on the Werewolf team or whether I'm on the good team. I see it as like a challenge for me to try and stay in the game as long as possible. You know, if I can stay right to the end, which I think in a reasonably sized game I've never actually done, which shows you how bad I am at the game, and perhaps why I want to try and stay as long as possible. I think, yeah, that's why I like to stay as long as possible, or try to stay as possible. I see it as a challenge to try and stay as long as possible so that I can be at the end, and then if I'm at the end, I can make sure my team wins, which doesn't happen. Whereas Blood and the Clock Tower, I think it's completely different for me. The thing that I enjoy most about Blood and the Clock Tower is trying to solve the puzzle, trying to get all the information, working out what is true information, what is wrong information, piecing it all together, and then working out who the demon is. That's what I enjoy most about both of those games. Bizarrely, for social deduction games, in neither of them, I don't really enjoy the social part of it. I'm not a very sociable person. I'm no good at reading people. I kind of, if anyone says something, I will tend to believe it. Or if people, I think, if I've been burned by somebody in the past, I will probably not believe them no matter what, even if all the evidence says they're a good person, sort of thing. So yeah, the social part of it is perhaps the least interesting part of it to me. In Werewolf, I think perhaps because I have played more Werewolf games, I know the people more in the Werewolf games. I'm probably a bit more light-hearted in the way I play, a bit less serious, and also because I'm not trying to solve too much. I know I'm absolutely no good at working out who werewolves are, so half the time I don't tend to bother trying that much. It's more just about enjoying it and having a laugh. But in Blood and the Clock Tower, yes, again, I'm probably a bit more serious, trying to think about it and try and solve the puzzle. However, I think I generally am quite a quiet player, unless I'm kind of really confident playing with like a smaller group of people I really know. I will not say too much. Also, because whenever I say something, it incriminates me, so I try not to say too much as possible. At least that's what I think. Now that the way I play both games and the things I enjoy about the both games might not be what I'm supposed to, what the games were designed for. That might not be what I'm supposed to enjoy about them. However, that's what I enjoy about those games. And if I have to change the way I play to I love doing those things, get those games, I'm not going to bother. I don't see the point of changing how I play to enjoy a game. I'd rather just play a different game. There are thousands of different games on there. But as I say, I'm getting a 9 for playing Werewolf and an 8 for Blood and the Clock Tower, playing the way I am. So I think that's doing okay. Yeah, so let's just go down to sort of actually compare them bit by bit, just to try and articulate more how I feel, why I prefer Werewolf more to Blood and the Clock Tower. I'll start off with the play count. Now, actually, the play count, I think the advantage to that for most of the time is Blood and Clock Tower. If you're playing with 5 to 8 people, definitely Blood and Clock Tower. At 5, 6, you can do the teensy vills, which are good fun. 7, 8, you can play a normal game of Blood and Clock Tower, and I think it's definitely much better than the 7, 8 play a game of Werewolf. I think it's a much more enjoyable game. 9 is starting to get a bit borderline. I don't know. Probably still going the way of Blood and the Clock Tower then. But 10 or more, definitely Werewolf. Blood and Clock Tower games I find take too long. I get too bored, and there are people who I just don't talk to, or I just don't interact with at all, or don't get to listen to, and I just think it's a complete waste of time. Again, I suspect people who play Blood and the Clock Tower might say, that's part of the whole game, but it's not something I enjoy about it. Whereas Werewolf, with 10 or more, I think it's, again, I don't actually like Werewolf with too many people. I think if I'm getting beyond 20, it's getting to be a big game. I don't like the long games of Werewolf. I don't like too, bizarrely, I think, considering some of the games that I have created for Werewolf, I don't like too complicated games to play. Yeah, and actually in Blood and the Clock Tower, the ones I enjoyed the most have been like the Trouble Brewing. In all 4 games, I have story told. I've only story told Trouble Brewing, and the script that I enjoy most to play is probably Trouble Brewing. Although Sets and Violets is quite fun as well. Bad Moon Rising, but I enjoy the custom scripts as well. So anyway, I think in play count, because it's easy to get, smaller group of people, Blood and Clock Tower certainly has the advantage there. Overall, I think the structure of the actual game, I think I prefer Werewolf. The way I usually like it is in Werewolf, you have a lot of people who tend to like talking, will talk a lot at the beginning, and then if they are successful in finding werewolves, the werewolves will kill those people, or if they're unsuccessful in finding werewolves, people will think they're dodgy, they are werewolves themselves, and will kill them off. And then usually by the mid-game point, then I kind of tend to find the more talkative people are gone, and everyone will then get a chance to talk and say their bit. And I actually really quite like that. As a quieter person, generally, I kind of like that the talky people get to say their bit at the start, and then they get killed off, and then the less talky people will stay till the end, if you like. That might be a very, very big generalization, but it's just what I found from my experience from that. Yes, it's there's player elimination, and it absolutely sucks getting killed day one, and there's nothing you can really do about it. However, I kind of like it in Zoom that you can just leave the game. You can still watch if you want, or if you're angry about having a hissy fit about getting killed off, you can just go and leave, and it's absolutely fine. Whereas Blood and Clocktower, I'm not a fan of the whispering type bit. Again, I don't really like the social bit. When I talk to people one-to-one, I tend to believe them, or I go with my previous prejudices, as I said, and so I don't get that much out of it. So I try not to talk as much as possible, which I then think means I miss out a lot of the information that I perhaps should do, but I don't. Again, going back to what I said earlier, I don't really want to change the way I play to get more out of the game if it means that I'm not going to enjoy the game as much. Another thing I don't like in that whispers part is that there's often like inner circles of trust of people who are trusted and can talk to each other. And again, due to the way I play, and no doubt, I'm usually not in that circle of trust, and it's just very frustrating seeing 3 or 4 people who are supposedly the good inner circle go off and sort the whole problem out, and you really don't do that much of the thing. Not a fan of that. The voting part I kind of like, because I like when the info, I like, I hope I'm not going to keep that in there. No, I'm not. I like, again, to listen to people's info and then just sit and watch and get the information out there, and then make my own opinions from it. And then from that, I actually like the night phase that I can go off into my own room. I can have the computer screens switched on, look at the grimoire, and still try and have a go at work out what's happening. I kind of enjoy that bit, definitely. Whereas in Werewolf, if during the night phase, you've got to have your head down like that, and yes, you can be looking down at your map, but it's quite hard to actually work things out or have a go, think about what is happening as much, I think. The fact there's no player elimination in Blood and Clocktower should be a good thing, I think. But for me, in practice, it's generally not, because yes, there are some roles, such as if you're a top 4 role and you've been been executed for nominating the Virgin, then people will trust you more, and then people will talk to you. But generally, I find if I've been killed, people, you have less to do. You're not getting information. In general, I don't enjoy it as much, and you're just waiting around, twiddling your thumbs until it comes to the end when you're trying to use your dead vote. That's probably a vast generalization, but I think in my experience, when I've been killed, especially early on, it's not been enjoyable to wait till the end to sort of just use your vote or not. Yeah, not helping that. And I don't like it. I think people disagree with me in the past, but this is my opinion. Sometimes in Blood and Clocktower, dying can be the best option to help your team win, but it is the worst option for your enjoyment of the game. That has definitely happened to me, and again, it may be my play style, and people may disagree, but in my experience, that's what I have found. There are certainly options in Werewolf when that may happen as well, where the best option is you as a good person dying, or you as a bad person dying, but it's going to hinder your enjoyment. But it happens far more often to me in Blood on Clocktower. I really don't like that. I like to enjoy the game, but I kind of would feel guilty if I enjoy the game and stop the team from winning. I don't know. Anyway, that's the structure, giving the edge to a werewolf. So then the moderating it or storytelling it, I think I actually prefer Blood on the Clocktower to this, even though I've only done 4 Trouble Brewing scripts. I actually enjoyed doing each one, and I enjoyed the part of coming up with, well, the first time I think I did it kind of randomly, came up with the roles I wanted for the game, but then I got more confident the last couple and actually choosing which roles I want in the game and how they interact. And even at Trouble Brewing, that's really, really interesting. And there's, you know, obviously with the other scripts, you can get more and more you can do. And then even with the custom scripts, you can create lots and lots of ideas. And I think there's just so much that you can do with it that I find really interesting. And that's a lot of time I spend thinking about. If I'm thinking of like running a game, I'll be thinking, how can I do this? Why do I want to run it? Often with me, I don't like to run a game just for the sake of running a game. And with Blood on the Clocktower, I think I'm finding it at the moment, and it may also be because I haven't done much storytelling, I can think of more things, interesting things for me that I would get out of storytelling it than with Werewolf at the moment. I'm having to sort of really kind of think of something that gets me wanting to do it. It's a lot easier to do for me to come up with an idea to storytell Blood on the Clocktower than it is for Werewolf. But again, that may well be because I've hardly done any storytelling on Blood on the Clocktower. And that, you know, that's not to say that in Werewolf you can't come up with all these interesting ideas as well. I've done some really silly, crazy stuff, but for the most part, I think all of that can be done in Blood on the Clocktower. But I think from watching other people storytell and how they talk about it and the interesting things, I think, and also actually when it's actually playing, when storytelling Werewolf, most of the time you're just sitting back and then watching it play out, which again I think could be enjoyable, definitely. But with Blood on the Clocktower, you're kind of actually taking a active part in it all the time. You have to be ready to make decisions, and so it's going to be more engaging for me. I find that I have to be more on my toes the whole time, whereas in Werewolf I can just sit back until people nominate and things. So yeah, and also the final 3 is kind of, again, this is probably a big generalization. The ideal thing is to get to your final 3, I think, in both games, the final 3 players. In Werewolf, you've just got to create the game and then hope you get there. In Blood on the Clocktower, you can actively try and help teams to get, or hinder teams so that you get to that final 3. I think in general, you kind of helping and hindering teams to make an enjoyable game. I think part of an enjoyable game may possibly be getting to a tense final 3. So you are kind of manipulating quite a lot. Actually, as a player, the very first time I played Blood on the Clocktower, this is in real life, I really enjoyed it as I was playing. But at the end of it, when I found out how much the storyteller had been changing things and things like that, I just felt absolutely manipulated and used by that storyteller. I felt cheated. I still kind of feel that way sometimes when I'm playing Blood on the Clocktower. I'd be feeling cheated by the storyteller, but I kind of got over how bad it felt, and it is like a journey, and you just got to enjoy the journey. But yeah, so I think on the whole, I think storytelling Blood on the Clocktower is more rewarding for me than moderating, and has more potential than moderating or storytelling. Sorry, the moderating Blood on Werewolf, but not by much. Okay, so next we're going to look at the roles, the good roles in Werewolf. I mean, the thing I love about Werewolf is the villager role. I think it's so important. I've run and I've played in games where there are not enough villagers, and it's just makes the game very poor because the evil team can't bluff as a villager. You need villagers in the game, and having the villagers in the game makes it more fun for the evil team, but makes it also more fun for the good team because you have a lot of villagers, you don't know who to trust. I love being a villager as well because there's absolutely no pressure on you. You just have to just sit there and watch and then make your decisions. My favorite role on the good side for villagers is actually a seer. I love to push your luck. You know, each night you're getting information. How long can you try and stay alive before you come out with the information? I do like that sort of thing. I enjoy that a lot. I tend to find on the good team, in Werewolf, there's not that many roles where that hinder the good team. That with the good team would be better off if you didn't have Lycan, Pacifist, possibly. Some people, a Lycan definitely. If you're playing a Lycan, whether you know you're a Lycan or you're not, can make the game worse for you. Some people say that they think a Lycan is essential to having Werewolf, to have the doubt in the seer, but I don't agree. I don't think you need to have a Lycan. Whereas Blood and the Clocktower, the townsfolk, I think I like that everyone has a role that can do something, but sometimes the roles, most of the time, sometimes you can have a role that sounds good, but in actual fact is just dull. Like for instance, if you're Raven Keeper and you know it's in a spy game, they're not going to kill you, so what's the point? Yes, you may have it. Oh, I suspect it's a spy game because I'm the Raven Keeper and I haven't been killed yet. Blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, I think I've had that's happened to me, and I just think, again, I just thought, what was the point? Also, I think in Blood and the Clocktower there are more, especially, well, the outsiders for me are an issue. I don't like the fact that there are roles that, you know, hurt the town by living. You know, some of the outsider roles hurt the town by dying, some of them hurt by living. I don't like the fact that there are roles that hurt the town by living, and then, you know, you want to try and get yourself killed to help the town out. I said before, I'm not a fan of those type of things about killing yourself, because in my opinion, it can make the game less enjoyable for you, or certainly less enjoyable for me. Dying, and less engaging certainly it is for me, and so I'm not a fan of those type of roles, and Blood and Clocktower has more of them. So I'm definitely saying, if you're good, I think if good roles, Werewolf is better in my opinion. For either roles, same again. I think Werewolf is better. Werewolves can, I like the fact that werewolves can always bluff as villagers, or if you want to try and come up with a narrative to say you're the seer or the bodyguard or something like that, you can do that. The only thing is, there's a huge likelihood of somebody trying to counterclaim you, but you know, if you've already come up with that, you'll kind of be prepared for that, and that's absolutely fine, I think. Whereas in Blood and the Clocktower, yes, you can have the blood, you know, the good thing is you can have the bluff rolls and not be worried about people counterclaiming you if you have the bluff rolls, but you have to come up with a narrative, and I'm not sure if I like coming up with a narrative. Yeah, and that's probably something that a lot of people really, really enjoy about being bad, but I really don't. I don't enjoy. So I think, although I do like the fact that you don't have to, that the pressure for me of having counterclaims for a role if you have your bluff rolls, I still would prefer being evil in a werewolf game, and I'm much more likely to claim a role as a villager. You know, if you're a confident, talky person, you know, you're probably more likely to prefer Blood and the Clocktower being evil, but not for me. So that's the roles. One more thing to mention, I guess, in there is the Travelers. In Blood and Clocktower, there's the Travelers for players who may not be around from the start but can join later, or may not be able to stay till the end and then they can leave. Personally, I hate the concept of Travelers. I think it's a complete and utter waste of time. I understand that it's for the real life game, you might have it, and people, you know, if you're at a game night or something and people have come late and you're playing a long game of Blood and Clocktower, you might want to have, you know, people be able to join in and not sit around and wait for a couple of hours. But on Zoom, I think there's absolutely no need for it. If people can't, not if people can't get there on time, that sounds wrong. I think if people don't join or are unable to get there, then you just play without it. It's not the end of the world. There's other things they can do. You're not stuck at a convention or stuck at a game night or something and they have to twiddle their thumbs for ages. So Travelers for me, they add complication. It's just unnecessary. So I really dislike those. Yeah, I don't like to play with them. I would, if I am storytelling, I would never ever use them. There we go. Yeah. So I've kind of talked for, I don't know how long now, probably far too long to show my thoughts. That's kind of really sums up how I feel. I guess this is just me ranting and rumbling for a bit. As I say, I was twiddling my thumbs. I didn't have any other videos to edit or do anything with. If you find this interesting, thank you. If you don't, thank you as well. And if you didn't watch it, you wouldn't know, but thank you. Yeah, there we go. Thank you very much.